Hello and welcome back to the channel. Well, it's that time of year again when we're hopeful that there's going to be a Barnes & Noble 50% off Criterion sale. And I've heard that and again, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that it could be as soon as the end of June. So I thought I would share with you some of my favorite Criterion films. Of course, if I could recommend all the Criterion films behind me, I would. I love everything that I have in my collection. I only have a little bit over 400 titles, but I would certainly recommend them all. And I do have a video where I show my whole collection, which I'll link in the description below, so you can check that out if you want to see everything that I have. So I'm going to show these fairly quickly. I'll give you a couple of quick thoughts about each one. And hopefully you are interested in the sale and will enjoy the sale. This first one, again, very sad about the news with the passing of Donald Sutherland, but this is one of my favorite movies from the 70s with Donald Sutherland and Jane Fonda, called Clute. And there's the back of that one. Also, I just love the performances from Jane Fonda and Donald Sutherland in this movie. I just love everything about it. It's one of my top favorite films of the 70s. These are also films that I can rewatch over and over again. Not that I couldn't do that with any film in the collection, but these are the ones I think I reach for the most often. So I'm going to go rather quickly here too. Last year I became a huge fan of Douglas Sirk, and this is one of my favorites, All That Heaven Allows. I love the stylized way that Douglas Sirk works, and I love also the performances here from Rock Hudson and let's see here, Jane Wyman. So this is a classic. If you're interested in Douglas Sirk style film, again, they're very stylized. This would be one that I would pick up. Another film with Donald Sutherland, which is a Nicholas Roeg film called Don't Look Now, which was out of print for a while. But again, this is a very haunting, very tragic movie, a very emotional movie, but I do love it. And there's the back of that one also. A film about one of my favorite directors, Ingmar Bergman, Bergman Island. This is one I don't hear too many creators talking about, but I just love this film. I love that it takes place on Bergman Island. And it has so much to do with artistry and writing and things like that. So again, another classic that I would highly recommend if you don't have this one. This is a later one, also in the Criterion collection. A film I recently saw this year is Boris Karloff and Targets. I think this is an amazing film too, considering also the I want to say the passing of Roger Corman, and the whole history behind this movie too, which is one of the things that's interesting to me. This is a Peter Bogdanovich movie, and I love the extra features on it. So Targets, if you don't have this one, highly recommend it. I love the creativity and script in this one, and it really made me a fan of the director, Triangle of Sadness. I think this was on some streaming services for a while, but I'm so happy that Criterion decided to release it. Highly recommend it. Very rewatchable, very creative. So there's that one. I just saw this film last night, and it's a film that I saw when I was a kid many, many times. And I'm so happy that Criterion decided to release it a while back. And it's The Incredible Shrinking Man. Some great early special effects in this movie too. So if you're interested in seeing that, and again, a very creative story here, it's very rewatchable. It just reminds me of being a kid starting to watch movies. And so this is one I'm definitely going to be watching over and over again. I've talked about this movie so much on the channel. I'm such a big fan of David Lynch, and this is one that I will regularly watch for inspiration during the year. It's David Lynch, The Art Life, and this is really just a documentary about Lynch himself and the way he works, including his artistry as a sculptor and a painter and a musician too. So there's that one. Again, I love that. If you're looking for a box set, I highly recommend this one. I've talked about the John Cassavetes box set before, but this is another great one. The Three Colors Kieslowski set. This is, I think there's been a 4K release of this, but I really find this one fascinating, very rewatchable. Probably my favorite in the Three Colors trilogy is blue. I know there's a lot of people that don't necessarily like white. I know there's a lot of fans of the movie red, but I happen to personally like blue. And there's the back of that one. So this is a box set you can pick up. The sale is a great time to pick up a box set also. So and there's quite a few of them, the Bergman box set, the Fellini box set, etc. I'm a big fan of the theater, and so this is another one that I will reach for very often, and it's Marlon Brando in On the Waterfront, directed by Elia Kazan. Lots of extra features on this one. I love the artwork here too. There's the back of that one. So this one I will reach for quite often, especially when it gets to be the fall. When it gets to be a little bit cooler, I start watching more theatrical, more serious films, and this will be one that I probably will watch. I'm such a big fan of Sidney Lumet. I still can't believe this is his first movie, but this is probably one of the first ones that I got in the Criterion collection, and it's 12 Angry Men. So this is a good one to start with if you're new to the Criterion collection, and it's a classic from Sidney Lumet, and it features also a teleplay that he did, and also just looking on the back here, Tragedy in a Temporary Town, which is a teleplay directed by Sidney Lumet, of course, who started in television. So you can see some of that experience in this. A fun one that I like that I'll always go back to, a Sidney Pollack film, Tootsy, with Dustin Hoffman. I just think this is a lot of fun and a classic that I go back to. I remember seeing this in the theater, but I just love the direction, the creativity, the humor in this one. A classic. Also a classic that I remember seeing when I was younger is The Big Chill, too. You can always go back to this. I love the soundtrack in this movie. I love the complete cast here, too, with so many actors like William Hurt and Jeff Goldblum, as well as many others. So that's a good one to pick up. This is probably my favorite Hal Ashby film, although I'm such a big fan of Hal Ashby and Peter Sellers, and this would be Being There. I know this was one of Peter Sellers' performances that he liked a lot, and I'm such a big fan of Peter Sellers and Hal Ashby that this one is always on my list. I think I probably watched this quite a few times and will continue to watch it. I love his characterization. I think Peter Sellers is really more like himself in this movie than anything else that I've seen, and I think even he's a fan. He said he was a fan of his performance in this movie, so really great to see. A movie that I just recently saw too. Well, no, I don't think I recently saw this one, but we were, my wife and I were watching the Bratz, a little bit of the Bratz movie that's on Hulu now, and we thought of this movie, The Breakfast Club, which is a John Hughes film that I remember seeing in the theater, and I just love this one, a classic. Also, I'm a big fan of Peter Falk and Alan Arkin. This is one with both of them. I remember seeing this movie in the theater and not really liking it, and then years later I became such a huge fan of it, and it's The Inlaws. And this one is very rewatchable, so funny, and I love the performances. I love the humor in this movie. It's just an amazing film to watch, and I can watch it over and over again. These are all films I could watch over and over again. A few years ago became a big fan of this director, Abbas Kiarostami, and this is one that I regularly go back to, A Taste of Cherry. Kiarostami is well known, I think, as a driving director. He's very good at filming in a car. There's a lot of movies where he has the character in a car, and this is a great film to watch. Just a very meditative movie, and it really showcases his expertise as a driving director, so this is one I go back to as well. But of course I love a lot of Kiarostami films. Many of the directors I'm showcasing today too, I will watch many of their films, not just the one I'm showing today. And this is one that's also a favorite, and Alfred Hitchcock is well represented in the Criterion collection, but this is a favorite of mine, Notorious, and you can see the cover representing a lot of what the movie, well, a key scene in the movie, and there's the key right there. And there's the back of that one. I love learning more about Alfred Hitchcock and these movies, and there's so many of his early films also in the collection, including some silent films like The Lodger as an example. So this is just one. But if you were a fan of Alfred Hitchcock, there's so much to choose from in the Criterion collection. And just a couple more here too. I'm a big fan of Jim Jarmusch, and this is one of my favorites, Down by Law. Recently, I've talked about on the channel being into Aki Kaurismäki, and of course, the two of them were friends, and so there's a lot of similarity there also. But Down by Law is an early favorite for me, but of course, I like Night on Earth and Mystery Train and those films that are also represented in the Criterion collection. But this is definitely a classic. And finally, speaking of plays, I wish this is a set from Criterion that I wish I had, the Laurence Olivier set with Hamlet. But I do have this one, Richard III, which is a fun watch. If you're interested in theater, I think this is probably the best version of Richard III on film, just like Hamlet, I think, as the Laurence Olivier Hamlet is the best film version, in my humble opinion. But I regularly go back to this again for inspiration, just to look at the craft, to see what Shakespeare can be very interesting to digest, but I just love going back to these films to see what else I can learn. So everything I've shown you today, to me, are very rewatchable. These are films I go back to over and over again to learn new things. But if I could recommend every film in the Criterion collection, I certainly would. I think Criterion's doing some great work. One of the films I didn't show today is Lost in America, which is an Albert Brooks film. And I'm so happy that Criterion is adding some additional Albert Brooks films. I'd love to see more Sidney Lumet in the collection as well. So that is what I have to show you today. Again, check out the collection video that I did a while back if you want to see all the titles that I have. I've got a little bit over 400 titles at this point, looking to add some more. I'm interested in adding the Chantal Akerman set during the sale, as well as the Sam Peckinpah movie Pat Garrett. I'm interested in those two things, but there's other films on my list as well, including The Other Side of Hope and Aki Kaurismäki films, since I'm into those films lately. But let me know if you're planning to participate in the sale, what you're planning to get. If you like any of these titles too, let me know. I always love the comments, so please feel free to leave me a comment below. Thanks so much for watching this video today too. If you like this video, click on like, and if this is your first video on the channel, please consider subscribing. I sincerely hope that everyone is safe and well, and I'll talk to you soon.